Hi YouTube, this is Evie. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing another viewer suggested topic. This one actually was suggested on my video about protectors in BDSM, and the question was, can you explain babysitters and pet sitters in BDSM and kind of go over them and talk about them? And I was like, sure, why not? Sounds like a great idea. So that is what the topic of today's video is going to be. Now, like a lot of things in BDSM, babysitters and pet sitters don't really fit into only one dynamic or only one kind of role. There's a lot of different variations on being a babysitter and a pet sitter. I'm going to be talking about 3 of them, and then I'm also going to be talking about the kinds of things that babysitters and pet sitters do. The first kind is the one that I'm most familiar with, and that's when the babysitter or pet sitter is a service submissive acting under a dominant. So the dynamic for this normally goes that there is a dominant, and then they have a little or a pet or some other kind of submissive that needs to be taken care of or looked after, and then that dominant also has a service submissive, and that service submissive job is to take care of the little or pet or whatever kind of submissive it is. Now, the inner workings of this dynamic can be different depending on the relationship. So sometimes the service submissive is acting as like an alpha submissive and they're actually higher in rank technically than the little or pet is. Sometimes they're on equal footing with each other. Sometimes the little or pet is kind of like a switch and they're also doming on the service submissive, and it can get kind of confusing. I'm not going to try and explain all those different various dynamics. It's just going to be up to your personal preference. And the babysitter or pet sitter here is a submissive. A lot of times I feel like on the internet especially, people feel like babysitters and pet sitters have to be doms or switches, but that isn't necessarily the case because of the fact the service submissive is taking care of the little but only under the direct orders of the dominant. They're not actually dominants themselves. They're just carrying out the orders of whatever the dominant wants. Yes, they make sure that the little or the pet is following all of the rules, staying safe, is happy and healthy in general, and they also have that very caretaker sort of aspect to them like a lot of daddy doms have, but they're not actually dominants. Generally, they're not the ones who carry out punishments. They're not the ones who make up the rules. Now, for the second type of dynamic I'm going to be talking about, the pet sitter or the babysitter is a dominant. This is generally set up to where the little has a primary dominant or the pet has a primary dominant, and that is who they take most of their orders from. That is sort of the main component of their relationship. Then they also have a secondary dominant. The secondary dominant is the pet sitter or the babysitter. Generally, the primary dominant and the secondary dominant do coordinate on punishments and tasks and rules and things like that, but they are not actually engaging in any sort of power exchange with each other, and they're not in any sort of relationship with each other. Now, with the little or pet, the degree of relationship that they have with the secondary dominant varies, although generally it is more limited in scope than what they have with the primary dominant. Most commonly, they only have that BDSM or that power exchange relationship with them. They're otherwise friends, but they're not romantically or sexually involved with each other. Now, the third type of dynamic is most common with strays and those who don't otherwise have a committed sexual or romantic relationship with a dominant. Generally, I would say this is most similar to having a protector rather than having a full-on committed relationship with a dominant, but they are distinctly different. With this type of babysitter and pet sitter, unlike with a protector, you are engaging in a power exchange relationship with them, and that is what makes it different. I would say this is most common to having a handler or a trainer. That's what I had when I was first getting involved with the scene and learning about pet play and learning about BDSM in general. Generally, it's sort of like a casual relationship with a dominant. Again, you're not normally extremely romantically or sexually attached to this person, although maybe you are, again, on a casual level. And it's not something that you engage in 24/7. Now, like a handler or trainer, they're generally there to show you the ropes of being a pet or a little, give you a space to explore being a pet or a little, and give you rules and structure in your life. Now, the kinds of things that a babysitter or a pet sitter might do is going to, as usual, vary a lot. It depends on if you are already in a dynamic with another dominant that they're going to be a part of, or if they're acting independently. If you are already in a relationship with another dominant, they are going to be there primarily to make sure that you have that same consistency in rules and structure that you have from your primary dominant. Because a lot of times, people who have babysitters or pet sitters are in relationships with dominants who either live far away or have very busy work schedules and aren't able to keep up with that consistency of rules and structure. And that's the whole reason why the babysitter and pet sitter is there. They're also there, of course, to make sure that you stay out of trouble and follow all of the rules, depending on exactly, what the dynamic is like and what the personality of the babysitter or pet sitter is. They can either be a ton of fun and just completely spoil you and you can have a great time with them, or they can be extremely strict. It sort of depends on what you want and exactly what the personality of the person is. Now, regardless of what other dynamics you might have going on, there are a ton of activities out there that you can do with your babysitter or pet sitter. So, for example, you could do things like go out for ice cream, you could watch movies together, you could color, you could have bath time, you could do leash training, you could play with toys together, you could play tug of war, you could have training to do different kinds of tricks. There are also lots of things that a pet sitter or babysitter can do for the dominant, especially if they're service submissive. They might also prepare meals for you. They might make sure you get ready for bed and help you brush your teeth. They might help you with your homework. They might help you just do really any sort of task that a regular babysitter might do. This kind of special BDSM babysitter or pet sitter might do as well. And that's really everything that I know about having a babysitter or a pet sitter in BDSM. I don't really have a lot of personal experience with this one just because I've never had one myself, but I do know a lot of people who have babysitters and pet sitters, so hopefully this was enough information for one video. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. I make videos twice a week if you want to subscribe and see more. And as always, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.